What are you doing out here?
Oh,
This here's private property.
I'm sorry. I just got lost. And how do I get back to the road?
What road?
The road. You know, like there was a road a way back and like I got lost.
You talking about Ypsilanti Road?
Yeah.
Ypsilanti Road's 25 miles from here.
Oh.
I'm starting to think you're lying.
No, I just got really lost.
Are you sure about that? You sure you don't want to reconsider your story one more time before we have to take it to the judge?
Which judge? We're out in the middle of nowhere.
The judge is what I call my shotgun.
Oh, God.
It's also what I call the local magistrate.
That's really confusing.
His name is Anthony Judge.
Wow.
Why are you
convenient.
laughing? I'm trying to figure out why you're on my property.
What's that over there?
A murderous naked woman. Why?
She just like showed up. You're not concerned about that?
Nah, because she doesn't think Ypsilanti Road is near here.
Oh,
dummy.
Oh, no.
This podcast is about why horror scares us. What deep, dark, secret, scary cinema shines a light on. The discussions are frank and involve conversations about abuse, trauma, and mental health. There are also spoilers, so keep that in mind too. Now, sharpen your machetes and straight razors, because this is Cutting Deep into Horror.
Hello, my spookies, and welcome back to Cutting Deep into Horror. I'm, of course, your host, Henrique Couto, here with my co-host, Rachael Redolfi. Rachael, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it stopped raining finally, so that's nice.
I mean, for a while, you slept through the huge storm last night.
Yeah, I think it was just getting started as I was nodding off to sleep.
No, and I'll tell you why, because the lightning that did not stop started at about 1 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
I went to bed at 2:30 and I was watching lightning going off all night while I was watching a movie. Like, all I had was I had the covering on the main window, but the kitchen window was where I was seeing all these flashes constantly.
Ooh.
I was very surprised by how aggressive that storm seemed to be. And then I got a text from my mother, who's in Nashville, Indiana right now at a cabin. And they had no power from 3 a.m. until about noon today.
Oh, man.
So it must have been real bad out there.
Yeah.
But, so no, you have no idea just how bad the storm got. I tell you what. No, I was nervous the whole time that we were going to lose power for another couple of days.
That's been a recurring trend.
Well, recurring strong, but it's been a minute since the big power outage.
Yeah, that was awful.
But it's funny. I was doing my work today, and I've been on a really intense streak this week of just pounding out as much work as I can. And I noticed that it really does serve me well to have a very short memory, because at one point, as I was struggling to come up with the right schedule for something, I was like, oh yeah, didn't I lost 2 days that one time because the power went out. And that was, so that was, I was like, man, I forgot that that was only 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. About 3 weeks ago. So not ideal. I don't enjoy it. I looked into getting a full house backup generator.
Yeah.
They're they could be as much as $5,000 to $10,000. And the maintenance, you have to maintain them. They have to be turned on regularly to make sure they work. There's all kinds of stuff you got to do with them.
Are you talking the big Generac ones?
I'm just talking the ones that literally are connected to your house.
Okay, yeah.
So literally when you switch over, your whole house is powered by that instead of being powered by the grid.
Okay,
so it's just a whole house power supply.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I looked into it. I was like, that is way too expensive. I mean, it's annoying that this year we had one major and one minor power outage. We lost 4 days, 4.5 days of power.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, that's not worth that amount of money.
Yeah.
And there'd be no guarantee the internet would work even with power.
Yeah, because we could still not get the internet provided, if the rest of the block is down.
I mean, I don't know if that's how. I think when the power's out, they just can't. The ISP can't send the internet to us.
Yeah,
I think. But yeah, so no, I tried to look into how can I make this never happen again, and there just is not much of a way.
Well, like you said, at least it's only been 4 days, altogether
of the whole. Yeah, well, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, because it was 3 days that one time,
and then it was just one day,
like that. Yeah,
1 day.
So I don't know, but yeah, no. So I mean, I have had my fill of severe weather. We've had a lot of that in sunny Dayton, Ohio, the Paris of Ohio. So yeah, I don't know. I am a little tired of the bad weather.
Yeah.
But speaking of things that make about as much sense as the weather, our film tonight is one that baffled me. The first time we saw it, we weren't even seeking it out. We went to a screening. We were the only people there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain we were the only ones in that theater.
Yeah, there was this thing called I think it was called Asylum Night at the Movies or Asylum Movie Night or something or Movies at the Asylum. That's what
Movies at the Asylum.
That makes sense because it's a pun. But it was Movies at the Asylum, and it was from the company The Asylum, which became super famous for Sharknado.
Mm-hmm.
But they've been a B-movie studio since the early 2000s. They launched their company with the Stuart Gordon horror film King of the Ants, which I think is one of the finest films ever made. And I'm not trying to be cute. I mean, Stuart Gordon's made a lot of incredible movies. I often joke that you don't want the Stuart Gordon curse, which is that your first film is Reanimator.
Oh man.
Yeah. When your first film is something that everybody thinks is excellent and maybe even a masterpiece, it can be tough.
Yeah. It's where do you go from there?
Because even with Sam Raimi, Evil Dead was his first film, but it was very rough around the edges. It did have moments that maybe didn't feel polished, but Reanimator is just so beloved and so, yeah, it's a great film. It'd be like if Wes Craven started with A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
It'd be like, damn, dude, where do you go from here?
Mm-hmm.
It's bad enough having ever made a movie that good and then having to try to live up to it again and again and again. But anyway, so that all being said, The Asylum became really well known for what were called mockbusters. And they were films that were similar in title and concept to Hollywood films of the era. They did things like when Rob Zombie's Halloween or Halloween 2, one of those came out, they did Halloween Night. I think
Transmorphers.
I was going to say that's the most probably infamous one is Transmorphers that came out during Transformers.
I Am Omega.
I Am Omega, yeah, which came out around the same time as the Omega Man.
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend, you're right. Yeah. Which was based on I Am Legend.
It's based on Omega Man.
It's based on the book I Am Legend, which Omega Man the movie is also based on.
Exactly.
Sorry, that's
the way to put it.
Yeah, it just gets confusing for sure. Yeah. I mean, and then it was also the same. Last Man on Earth was based on that too, on that same book by Matheson. But yeah, so those were some of the most notorious ones. They also did Paranormal Entity, which I showed you, which was a knockoff of Paranormal Activity. I
really
thought it was
good though.
It was almost scarier in some way. In some ways, it was much scarier than Paranormal Activity because it had teeth. It was much more aggressive.
Yeah, that's
one that I think people should really give a watch. Is Paranormal Entity, and I've talked to people about it before, horror fans, who will nod, and then they say something, and then I realize they start talking about their opinions of it, and I realize, oh my God, this asshole thought that I misspoke Paranormal Activity.
Oh no.
When I'm talking about a totally different film. And then they don't have the reason I'm calling him an asshole is they don't have the courtesy to just politely, do you mean Activity? They don't have the kindness because in their horror movie knowledge, they think there's only one movie that starts with paranormal. Come on. Plus, why would I want to rave about, even 10 years ago, why would I want to rave about Paranormal Activity to a random other horror fan? Everybody saw it. It was a big deal. But I was bringing it up oh man, but have you seen Paranormal Entity? Like what do they, oh man, but have you seen, Jurassic Park? Like, come on. But no, so that's all to say the Asylum, that was their big thing. But then they got a pretty harsh cease and desist from, I believe it was Universal Studios. And that ended the era of the mockbuster almost wholly.
Yeah.
It just did. And some of those mockbusters were really fun because a lot of times they would hand them to a director and be like, as long as you do it for this cheap, and their budgets weren't insanely low. They were $500,000 to $1 million, $1.5 million for the most part. There were some that were really, really cheap. A lot of their found footage movies were super cheap, and also their sex comedies. They actually did a ton of really hilarious sex comedies in the early 2000s that I thought were really funny. But anyway. So the Asylum is making all these mockbusters. Then they lose that market. They were always, and this is something I always appreciate about them, they were always diversified.
Yeah.
Like, as I just mentioned, they had sex comedies they were putting out, and those would go to Blockbuster and Hollywood Video back in the day, but they would also go to Showtime and Cinemax sometimes, and sometimes HBO. You never know, but they'd make them for like $100,000 a piece, which in the grand scheme of movie making, especially back then, that was extremely cheap because cameras were so expensive, and they're making them in Los Angeles. So they would make those. And then they were also slowly but surely dipping their toe into the sci-fi original movies, which were at the time becoming giant.
Mm-hmm.
Sci-fi original movies like, like Mega Python and Python versus Alligator. I mean, some of these might not be the actual titles, but there were so many of them. Piranhaconda, which I loved, Piranhaconda. There were so many of them, and they started making some of them as well, like Two-Headed Shark Attack, things like that. But then they hit the stratosphere with Sharknado.
Yes.
And not literally, because they didn't go into space until part 3. But I wish I was joking. I'm not even joking.
No, but those movies are so much fun.
They're super fun. So, and then that was when they started to really have this other life as the big, crazy movie people. But at the same time they were making all the mockbusters, they were also making sexy comedies and some more traditional horror films. And by traditional, I mean like, just a poster and a title, not like it not aping on something else or knocking something off in a way that's relatively shameless. That was like their bread and butter, was being diversified. So when Sharknado happened, they never stopped making those sexy comedies, and they never stopped making the kind of traditional horror films either. They just had much lower budgets, and they'd put them out just the same. And then they actually advanced in 2015, 16, 17, somewhere in that neighborhood. They started making Lifetime movies occasionally, and making made for TV movies for, and mostly Lifetime. I think they did maybe a Hallmark movie or two too.
Oh, good for them.
So, well, I mean, they're smart. They know how to stay alive in the business. And that was a very long way to say our film tonight is Tonight She Comes from 2016. And it is a whack-a-do movie. And I don't quote Mojo Nixon lightly. So
no,
I
you do
mean
not.
It when I say a whack-a-do movie. It came out in 2016. It's available to rent anywhere you rent movies, like Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV, Google. And if you want to watch it for free, it's streaming free with ads on Fandango at home. And we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll dive in more to how we saw this film and why we're even talking about it, because this thing is so far out. You won't believe it right after this. So Tonight She Comes, directed by a guy named Matt Stewart, who, as far as I could tell, has not directed another feature.
Not that I could tell either.
It looks like he mostly worked in camera and electric, mostly as an AC and a camera op.
Okay.
On other movies, but it doesn't look like he's had a ton of directing work. At least not in features. It says Wake Not the Dead is a film he's filming right now, but that could be not true. There's a movie called Human on IMDb. It says it's feature length, but there's no way to watch it.
Oh.
So, I mean, it could exist, but it could not be done, or it could not be released or whatever. But this film definitely, he impressed me with it. I mean, it had a lot of interesting stuff going on beyond the bizarreness even. And we saw this film as we were mentioning at Movies at the Asylum, and which was just at our local Cinemark. They had, I think it was 8 weeks of Asylum movies.
Yeah, because it was like one summer.
Yeah. It was like every week there was one playing on Thursday night.
Yeah.
And it was one night only. And they opened by doing like a Sharknado. One of the newer Sharknado movies was like the start. And there were a lot of people there. And some of them had a decent amount of people. Like they did that one zombie movie.
The zombies on a yacht or whatever?
The one that was like British.
Yeah.
It wasn't very good.
No.
I remember like keeping hoping. And then like toward the end, I was like, this isn't very good. But there were a lot of people there for that one. So not all of them were dead empty. But that's the thing, is they would have like Sharknado 4 or whatever. And then Zombies.
Yeah, I saw Zombies. That one was fucking hilarious.
But then you'd also get Tonight She Comes or Bad Girl.
Bad Girl was so good.
Bad Girl was super good. And that was Samara Weaving's first movie feature film to be released in America. She was like 4 years later going to be one of the biggest names in movies.
Yeah.
And she was in some little B movie from Australia. And that one was interesting because I noticed, because I would look up some of the movies afterward, and it seemed like Asylum was actually having trouble filling the slots, because at least 1 or 2 of the movies never got released by Asylum on home video. So they must have licensed them just for a theatrical screening for whatever reason. But that's not necessarily that important or interesting, but it's something I thought about.
It's interesting.
That's nice of you to lie. It's always appreciated when people lie.
Hmm.
But so this movie, what is it about, you know?
Well, how to be gross?
That's not fair. I mean, it's a gross movie, but like the plot is basically like, it's set up like a slasher movie, but this like unstoppable killing thing is a naked woman covered in blood coming after these increasingly fascinatingly weird and stupid characters.
Yeah.
But
incredibly incompetent.
Well, but it's definitely on purpose.
Yes.
We'll get into that more. It's not that this movie was written lazily at all, actually. I think it was actually a pretty clever movie.
Yeah.
Well, and when you look at the economics of this film, it's very clever. As wacky and crazy as this movie is, a huge portion of it is them in the living room talking.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like something I try to point out to people. Like the first Sharknado movie, a large amount of that movie is them sitting in a car while the rain is coming down and talking to each other, which is smart. I mean, because it's a relatively easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, so, I mean, that's basically is like, they have to figure out how to stop this thing that may or may not be a demonic entity. And as the story progresses, it's very good at answering questions by making you ask immensely more questions.
Yes.
So, were you gargling with glass before the show?
Yeah, just for fun. You know?
I get it. But no, please, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, like, the more I think about it, the more, I guess I could say, like, the point of the movie is kind of like either a mirror or a love letter to just the horror genre in general, but like exploitation and grindhouse movies in particular.
Yeah? How so?
Oh, well, just like the whole tone of the film, the self-awareness of it, the fact that it does have so many nods to other exploitation films or just horror films in general.
I'm with you on the horror, but I never really picked up on it referencing exploitation movies very much.
Maybe it doesn't, and maybe I'm just like generalizing more than I should.
I don't know. I mean, do you have an example? I wasn't trying to put you on the spot. I just legitimately, when you said it, I was waiting for you to say one so I could understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying like maybe I'm just generalizing horror and grindhouse together too much.
Well, but you were also saying exploitation movie.
Or exploitation is what I meant. Exploitation and horror together too much.
Okay.
Because I was thinking, like, as far as exploitation, I can think about, Cannibal Holocaust. Would you consider that?
Yeah,
an
I
exploitation?
think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, usually exploitation movies aren't horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose, yeah, that would probably be a exploitation movie.
Yeah. So like there's some similarity in tonality, but not enough to say like, yeah, that it's totally drawing from exploitation.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, I thought that it was just drawing from slasher movies. It was just kind of having fun with them.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of being like, hey, you know how slasher movies will hand you some dumb characters? Well, these are really dumb. Like, they're going to frustrate you with how dumb they are.
Yeah.
But it works pretty well because there's an odd, earnest element to the movie that I think works really well.
Yeah.
So that's why it kind of holds up. But I mean, we sat down to watch this in the theater and we had zero clue what it was at all. I mean, the title was Tonight She Comes and there's like a creepy looking woman on the poster. That's all we knew.
Yeah.
At all. And every step it gets more wild and out there and way, way, way out.
Yeah.
So I remember when we were watching it, I was kind of on the fence about how I felt about it because the problem with things being really wacky and out there is it can let you be lazy. That's a big complaint I have with a lot of like horror comedy type stuff is that it's like, oh, well, if you're winking, you're like, oh, it's supposed to be bad. It's like, cool. Then you don't have to try to be good. But it became very clear the longer I watched the movie, the intense amount of effort that went into all of the weird choices that were in the movie. They were all thought out very much to make some degree of sense. And the ending is what made me love it. If it hadn't had that ending, I probably would have thought it was okay. I probably forgot about it. But that ending was so far out there.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing. Like when I think of the movie, I always think of the ending first.
Yeah, of course.
And then the rest of the movie kind of like comes back to me.
Oh, yeah.
But it's got such a special place in my heart because I was so new to the world of horror films when we went to see it.
Yeah.
So it kind of, it in a way set me up to have expectations of what the rest of my like horror viewing career would be like. Because it introduced me to the concepts in a very tongue-in-cheek kind of way.
Yeah, I get that. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll talk even more about Tonight She Comes and the very interesting choices at the beginning of the film, right after this.
So, since I had not seen very many horror films, when we first saw this, I went in especially blind. And so there were moments going back and rewatching it now where I could be like, oh, wow, that's like a nod to, Friday the 13th, or, oh, wow, that's kind of a nod to, other films that I've watched with you. But at the time I was like, what is like, why would someone be coming out of the lake, or why would you kill someone with a sleeping bag, like wrapping them up in a sleeping bag? And I didn't realize like, oh no, that's because they're kind of like tipping their hat.
I mean, that's a straight homage.
Yeah.
I would say, to John Carl Buechler's death scene. Well, he wasn't killed in it. He was the director of that film and the special effects artist that did Friday the 13th Part 7.
Yeah.
And the famous sleeping bag kill scene was notoriously cut for content. It was cut for the R rating. So it became kind of legendary with horror fans that like that scene would have been so much cooler if the MPAA hadn't ruined it. So, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely a good amount of homages in there. And that's kind of where with this movie, you do want to kind of make an open differentiation between homage and cliche.
Okay.
So, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because like you have homages, which would be like the death with a sleeping bag, or I'm not thinking of another homage off the top of my head immediately, but cliche would be more like group of kids go camping in a cabin by the water. It's clear stuff is wrong, but they don't seem to care. no matter how, bad things get, they're just too busy being horny or whatever thing it might be. That's more the cliche than an homage. Cause I guess when it's an homage, you can point generally to one movie.
Yes.
And when it's a cliche, you could point to like a genre of films or an oeuvre of movies.
I would agree. That's a very good differentiator.
And I think they play more with cliches than they do with homages.
I agree.
Overall.
I agree.
But it's thick with them, and it's not done in a lazy way. I know I've said that before, but it's worth saying again. They don't just cheap out. Everything you think is lazy ends up being really, really nuts.
Yeah. There's kind of a payoff for most things in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, they do play with the idea of there being no payoff being a payoff sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons I was kind of like, oh my God, this movie, like, is it just going to keep throwing curves? And yes, it throws every single ball it throws is a curveball. That's actually kind of one of my favorite things about this film is it starts out being so painfully cliche and simplistic and,
almost like trite.
Yeah. Trite's an all right word, I guess. Jeez. No, but yeah, it comes up. It's like here's two dudes who like to smoke weed, and one has a mail job. He delivers mail, but he doesn't have a mail truck yet because he's part-time. And then here's these two hot girls. They're gonna go to their friend's cabin, even though they haven't heard from their friend in a while. But they're gonna topless sunbathe. And you're like, wow, I could follow this without a brain or eyes. Yeah. I could follow this story. And then by the time the second act hits, the rug has not been pulled out from under you. It's been like vaporized into non-existence. The rug never existed. Yeah. You simply believed in the rug. Therefore, your feet didn't feel like, they didn't feel the cold tile of the ground. But in reality, there was never a rug.
There was never a rug. There may never have been a floor either.
You may have never had feet.
Yeah.
No, because that's the thing is like once the story starts happening, it nothing is as it seems.
Yeah.
Nothing goes exactly the way you're expecting. But it does keep this weird mentality of everybody's pretty stupid.
Yeah. Because like even on the second watch through, the only character that really comes across as competent would be Felicity.
No, you mean Felicity?
Felicity.
That's how her dad said it. Yeah, well, and we're getting way ahead of ourselves because she doesn't even get introduced till the second act, just about, give or take. So, I mean, what you have here is a movie that feels like it's going to be a camp cabin in the woods slasher movie, which again, that's a very, very well-known cliche.
Yeah.
And so many movies start that way. And not only movies start that way, but pitches for movies even now. Because it is fun.
It is.
It is. And when it comes to filming the movies, it's fun to go to a rental cabin and film because they're in beautiful places. So I get it.
Yeah.
I do get it. But yeah, it's such a cliche. And here we're getting that cliche, but a little different. I mean, a little bit. And all the characters while they are caricatures, they're like really broad caricatures. And
it makes it makes you both love them and hate them like more and more.
Yeah, if they were predictable, you would hate them.
Yeah.
I think that might be it.
Because that's exactly it.
As I'm describing how the characters are and how the plot progresses, I'm finding myself having a harder and harder time ending the sentences with "and I like this movie" because none of it sounds like it'd be good.
Right.
That's probably the thing I think is most interesting about the movie is that none of it really sounds good.
Well, it's kind of the embodiment of the phrase, the whole is larger than the sum of its parts. And so like when you break it down to its individual constituent pieces, it sounds like, wow, that would be like a really dumb kind of experience. But when you put it all together, it's like, wow, this is actually a pretty engaging, wild ride of a movie.
Well, engaging it definitely is. And after this break, we'll start talking about some actual story points from it. But believe you me, it's the weirdest movie because there's not a lot to it, and there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that right after this.
The movie opens with a naked, pregnant woman running through the woods, and she stabs herself, and it's bloody.
You're leaving out the most important thing. Like you're not giving this any subtlety.
Okay.
Or nuance. Nuance is the better way to put it. She starts stabbing herself with a broken shard of glass, which I just think is worth mentioning because that's very unpleasant to just imagine doing at all, when most stabbing yourself is unpleasant to imagine doing.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify that. And it does reappear. The broken piece of shard of glass appears a few more times. But yeah, she's stabbing herself. It appears in the stomach.
Mm-hmm.
With it, yeah.
In her abdomen. And then...
Isn't that the same place?
I guess. I'm just being more technical about it.
Okay, fair enough.
Then we immediately cut to two girls about her age. They're in a car and talking about their periods, and one of them is grossing out the other with like a used tampon or used pad or something. So that immediately kind of sets the tone of what kind of movie this is, what kind of characters we're dealing with. And by way of introduction, we learn that their friend Christy is probably the girl that was running through the woods because they can't get a hold of her, and they've both been trying to reach her cell phone.
Right.
And neither one of them can get through to her. But regardless, they're going to go to the cabin that she's at because they want to all, spend time and have fun, this last summer fling. And then we meet he's kind of the main character, James, the mail carrier. And he's delivering mail in just like his beat up pickup truck because he doesn't have an actual mail truck.
Because he's part-time.
And we immediately get the sense that he's part-time and also probably not aspiring to be full-time at any point.
Well, he just comes off as kind of a slacker, and it doesn't help and I don't mean like a slacker. I mean like the cliche.
Yeah.
Of like a slacker, a guy who's just kind of like, whatever, man, I'm just making money and I'm going to smoke my bud. It's not like there's not a lot to it.
No.
But he's with his buddy, Pete. And Pete is the same kind of deal. He's just a very archetypal slacker type guy. And they're out looking for an address. And he's like, the address doesn't exist. The GPS took them to a dead end.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty funny that they literally pull up to like a road just ends. And he's like, look, I told you. And then he looks at the letter and he goes, oh, we have the numbers backwards.
It's like, oh, it does
exist. That house does
exist.
It's over this way. But his buddy, and this is where the kind of like, I don't know, the kind of brilliant use of like dumb cliche kind of begins, because his buddy tells him like, because one of the first things you have to do in a horror movie is you have to separate characters so that bad things can happen to them. And his buddy is just like, all of a sudden, I mean, these guys, they're literally just like busting each other's balls figuratively and then later literally. They're just like making fun of each other and making jokes and smoking weed and all this stuff. And then his buddy is just like, right when they're about to leave, he's like, I have to go to the bathroom. And then he's like, actually, you might have said I had to piss. I really, it's going to be a while. So he's like, just come back and get me when you're done. And all I'm thinking is like,
go
why
take a crap in the woods?
Well, I mean, obviously he needs to. When you got to go, you got to go. My point is like, why would your buddy need to leave? Like, I mean, just he could wait 5 minutes for you, for God's sake, But so his buddy like leaves him there to go deliver this mail. And that's where it kind of, like I said, where it doesn't sound like it would work. And so far at this point, when I was first watching the movie, I didn't think this was I thought the guys were kind of funny.
Yeah.
Just like I thought the girls were kind of funny.
Yeah.
But everybody's got this kind of like really loud, boisterous, stupid humor to them. And it's kind of strange that they have that going for them.
Yeah.
So his buddy goes to like do his business, and he goes to deliver his mail, or the mail, and he gets to the house. There's nobody there. He kind of wanders around, still nobody there. So then he does what like makes so much sense. He sees a hammock, so he takes a nap on the hammock.
Just cause.
Yeah.
And this whole time, while he's kind of like looking around and yelling like, hey, is there anyone here by the name, Christy, whatever? I got this letter, and looking at the hammock and all that, we see, the point of view of other people watching him from the house or from the woods.
What is traditionally referred to as a killer POV.
Killer POV.
Yeah. Where somebody's watching off on the side. Now, oftentimes in horror movies, the killer POV, because it was a very early established cliche, it's usually a misdirection. Like, somebody's watching them, and then it cuts and it's like Crazy Ralph in Friday the 13th, or it's, the sheriff, or it's somebody else, not who you're thinking it'll be, or whatever it might be. But yeah, so we're teased with this idea of like a kind of killer, slasher type killer watching him. And then he ends up getting like attacked, and we cut away.
Yeah.
Now the girls arrive at the cabin, and they immediately, since they can't find Christy, they decide that they need to lay out by the lake. It's on this huge lake, like a very nice sized lake.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. So they decide that they're going to like hang out there and wait for Christy. And so they're, if I remember correctly, the Pete character sees them from across the lake.
Yes.
And they are like chasing each other around. They're like trying to pull each other's tops off.
Because of course they are.
Why not? But he starts just furiously masturbating. He starts furiously, like immediately.
After pulling out a comically large spyglass.
Oh yeah. He had a spyglass, which was just great. So he could see them. Like, we're talking like a pirate would have, like a little telescope, which was a hilarious touch that he just has that. But he's watching them, and eventually they kind of like see him, and he runs off, and they're mad for a second. And that leads them to discover, what's his name? James.
Yeah.
To discover James sleeping. Well, he's laying in the hammock. We think he's dead, but then they go and get a gun from her glove box. They poke him with it. He wakes up, and then they act like they're going to shoot him. And it turns out it's a water pistol, which makes a lot more sense than her having a German Luger just hanging out in her glove box. But so now he's like, what the hell? And they're laughing about it. It's really strange, but
they're not disturbed by being watched or by him being there.
No, they were mad about being watched, but they just kind of brush it off almost instantly when there's a new shiny thing to look at, you know? And that's, again, like, it doesn't sound like it's going to work. And at this point, I still wasn't sure if the movie worked, but we're getting these characters all together, and there's this consistency of like, he has a bloody wound on his arm that he notices, but nobody seems to care.
Yeah.
They just kind of move along. And then things start to pick up after Pete goes to take a leak, and we'll get to that right after this.
So Pete, wandering through the woods, stops to pee, and while he's peeing, he notices like a cell phone ringing, and he goes to like reach down and pick it up, and then realizes there's a dead body, and he's been peeing on the dead body. And being the genius that he is, he goes to wipe the pee off the body and like goes and moves it around and everything.
Yeah. It's a naked woman who appears to be dead, just laying there, and it looks a lot like the woman from the beginning of the film, except she doesn't have any of the markings on her stomach and stuff that she had at the beginning, and no stab marks, no weird runes, nothing.
Yeah, she's just dead there.
Yeah, just laying there. So yeah, his instinct is to try and wipe the pee off of her. I assumed it was because of DNA, but then he throws the hat to the side. It's like, oh, well, the hat's full of your hair.
Yeah.
Like it's right by there. Like, what the hell? So then he takes pictures.
Yeah.
And it would appear that the gag is because she's naked.
Yeah.
And that's another element that plays out a few times that's really bizarre, but I don't even find it offensive because it's so stupid.
It is.
Because in a minute, we'll get to it because I'll remember. But so he finds a cell phone, which turns out to be Christie's cell phone. And then as he's like getting really close to her, like he might be getting on top of her, we don't know, she wakes up. And the moment he realizes she's alive, he's like, oh my God, and then he calls the number that's been texting Christy and leaves this voicemail about, I found your friend. It's going to sound weird because it's not her, but she's not moving or anything. And while he's saying that, of course, she's gotten up and now.
And like looming behind him.
Yeah, but she is just a tiny naked woman, which is just kind of funny. That's the thing. But also, while they're doing that, we see another killer POV that isn't either of them, which helps kind of mislead you into thinking maybe she's not the killer or something. Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of, yeah.
It definitely keeps you guessing. And obviously that's clearly on purpose why they're trying to like constantly mislead us and, keep us from, really picking up what's going on. But it's kind of hard to say what's going on because sometimes it seems like the movie like doesn't even want you to figure it out at all.
I mean, I don't think at this point, I think that the movie's it's so straightforward. It kind of lulls you into a false sense of security. Like you think it's going to be very simple and dumb. And then it gets very weird, complicated and dumb.
Yeah.
And dumb is a little bit harsh, but it is.
It is kind of
characters.
dumb.
Well, the characters go from like really stupid to later on to being almost more quirky.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they're doing kind of makes sense and matters, I guess. But so but did you want to keep going with
yeah.
Next?
So the other characters back at the farmhouse or, in the lake house, they're all sitting around and drinking now and kind of like partying.
Yeah, they're just hanging out with this dude who was just there, who at first they thought maybe he had done something to Christy, but then they decided he hadn't.
And so now he's all cool.
They were just yelling at him about a bunch of stuff, and now they're just like, whatever, hanging out. It's, it's bizarre.
And like, Ashley's like puking her guts out, and Lindsay and James are kind of flirting a little bit. But of course, then once Lindsay starts getting too drunk and Ashley's not puking as much, then James starts flirting with Ashley a little bit more because,
well, that's a little bit later.
A little bit later.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's way later, actually.
So he's like flirting with Lindsay hardcore, and of course they're not getting the phone call at all. Nobody notices. And then they're trying to Lindsay and James are trying to get into the house because they want to, do the deed, but they don't want to do it outside. But they can't get the door open, so she's like, go get me a sleeping bag, and we can just like do it on the front porch. And he runs to get a sleeping bag, and Ashley's like, nah, that one's mine.
Yeah, funny.
And I thought
they're both mine.
They're both mine. So it's very clear that his priorities are all in his pants.
Well, yeah,
at this point.
but even when they weren't, they made no sense.
I
mean, he just goes to sleep in a hammock. Why?
Why
does he do that? Like, why would you do that? Strange place. So, but when, if I'm remembering correctly, I mean, you left out one of the best parts. Oh,
which
you really
which part?
When Ashley tells him that her friend's a virgin, and it like freaks him out.
Yes, I do remember that part now.
I was saying you remembered the sleeping bag gag, but not the virgin part. The virgin part's way funnier. So now he's all weirded out
because he doesn't want to
be her first time or whatever. It's very, very bizarre. And the lead up is really kind of like I said, the most misleading part of the film.
Yeah. Well, because again, you feel like it's going to be a normal slasher. And to an extent, yeah, sure, because you're like, okay, well, obviously this person's going to die and this person's going to die. And then we'll get the final girl and something will happen. And then she gets to survive and everything, everything's fine, and sets up for the sequel. So we get that a little bit because we kind of get back to Pete, and he's not doing well. He's dead now in the woods. And that kind of, that sets up like, okay, the killer's coming for them. And we go back to the lake house, and they all notice a figure out on the other, like across from the lake. And as they're looking, they realize it's one, a naked woman covered in blood, and two, it's just walking toward them and just like gets into the water and just keeps walking and walking, and like head goes underwater, and they lose sight of her. And being the geniuses they are, they kind of are a little off put, but they don't panic the way I feel like a normal person would necessarily panic when you see a strange naked woman covered in blood walking out of the woods.
I mean, I think the way you should panic when you see somebody just walk into the water apparently drowning. That would be the thing that would have gotten me.
Yeah.
And that's where now things are getting ready to pick up. And if it were a slasher movie, which in a way it is, but it isn't, it would be the slashing would be getting ready to start. And the choices continue to be very strange. But like I said, everything really changes in the second act, and we're almost there. And we'll keep heading that way, like Christy marching through the underwater right after this.
So James reacts kind of rationally, seeing this naked, bloody woman walking toward the lake. And he's like, who is that? And, Ashley is a little concerned, but, Lindsay, she's so wasted, she doesn't care at all. But then that's when Ashley realizes, like, oh, she's got a voicemail. And that's when we get the, kind of bone-chilling realization that she's just now getting the message from Pete and kind of putting it together that her friend may be the one who's coming to get them across the lake. So when she gets out of the lake and like kind of, I wouldn't say she rushes at them. She's never really that quick.
No, she trudges along.
But it's kind of like the old-fashioned, like, Night of the Living Dead zombies are scary because they're lumbering and they never give up. And that's kind of the same thing. Is Christy is scary because she just does not relent. So they run to the car, but like any self-respecting slasher movie, the car will not start.
Well, I'm shocked you forgot the moment where when she starts walking up, the guy James just starts going like, "Is that a naked chick? Somebody take a picture for me. I don't have my phone."
I did forget about that.
And which is another like great example of like, what? Like, what is what? Like, that's beyond like a frat boy mentality. That's just like a bizarre brain dead kind of mindset. Like, somebody take a picture for me.
Like,
okay. What? So I just thought that was worth mentioning because we were talking about how kind of out there they get.
Yeah. No, thank you for reminding me of that, because I forgot about that. So yeah, it like any self-respecting slasher movie, they can't get away in the car. So as they're trying to like figure out what to do, of course James is now going to flirt with Ashley.
Well, yeah.
Because why not? So as they're sitting there flirting, Katie shows back up again, or Chrissy shows back up again, and kind of heads them off from Lindsay. So they've got to get back to her. Chrissy grabs James and lifts him up and starts to choke him. And Ashley bites her.
Yeah, and then the other girl hits her with a boat oar.
Yeah.
Like they just like whoop her, but then they just kind of walk away and go back to like, let's try to get in the cabin again.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
You again, they don't make logical decisions, but because of how entertaining the consequences are, I can kind of forgive them.
Yeah, no, I mean, and like I said, I don't think the movie really kind of shines until later. Right now, it's just pretty stupid. And I do think that is in a way to kind of lull us into that false sense of security that we know kind of what we're getting.
Yeah.
And then we get something way further out.
Exactly.
Which I appreciate. I mean, that's really why we're talking about it.
Exactly.
So now they're trying to break the glass to get into the cabin to escape Christy. And
they're sitting there like banging on the door and banging on the glass with an oar. And then the door swings open and there's just this crotchety old man in the door. And he's like, "Argh," and then slams the door back in their faces.
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, let us in. Like, we need to get in away from that. We're, it's not safe." And then the two figures that had kind of been trailing them, they finally come out from the woods, and it's, this hick hillbilly looking kind of guy and this hick hillbilly looking kind of girl in like tattered old clothes. She's wearing like an old timey dress that's all like muddied and mucked up. And they kind of like shepherd everyone into the house, and you immediately get the sense like, okay, they know and are prepared for what's happening more than anyone else, obviously. And they immediately start like trying to get everyone to cooperate with them while they're in the house without really explaining exactly what's going on, just explaining like they need sacrifices, and they need compliance, basically.
So I'm guessing it didn't confuse you, the part where the older son of this guy cut his hand and then drew a rune on the glass, and then all of a sudden it created a force field that Christy couldn't walk through? Because you kind of left that out.
Well, that's what I mean. Like that's what I meant by like compliance. They want compliance, and the sacrifice is like the blood.
Okay. I'm talking about when he drew on the glass and it made like a glowing force field.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really cool.
It was very cool.
Because it comes out of nowhere. I don't know.
So that's when the kill, the Friday the 13th part 7 kill happened. Is Christy grabbed Lindsay, and while she's like trying to huddle in a sleeping bag, grabs her, drags her back out of the cabin, hoists it up, and just whack, whack, whack into a tree. Pretty gory. Is pretty effective kill.
You're sure it's part 7, right?
I'm really hoping it's part 7.
Oh, it is, but I see, I want to make you suffer as a horror fan.
Oh, no.
So I'm guessing you could never in a million years guess what part 7's subtitle was.
7, 8, 9? No, I don't remember.
What? Do you remember any of them? It starts with part 4, because you have Friday the 13th part 2, and Friday the 13th part 3, 3D.
Okay.
Then we start having subtitles. Wow, none?
No, I just...
Not a one.
Well, is it Jason in Manhattan?
Wow, you even got that wrong.
Yeah.
It's Takes Manhattan.
Takes Manhattan.
But which one is that?
7? Or no, 8. 8? Because it's after 7.
Yes. It's after. Well, you said 7 first, which is funny because
I was thinking of 7.
No, it's Friday the 13th, part 4, the final chapter. Part 5, A New Beginning. Part 6, Jason Lives. Part 7, The New Blood. Then part 8 is Jason Takes Manhattan. And then part 9 is Jason Goes to Hell. And 10 is Jason X. But those are easy.
Those are easy.
Those are the easy ones.
Also, I did remember, well, kind of vaguely remember Jason Takes Manhattan. Not Jason in Manhattan.
I mean, yeah, but considering the whole point is Jason's in it, which you no doubt knew, and you remembered Manhattan was a major point, even though the film is really Jason takes Vancouver but spends half the movie on a boat. Which I actually love the boat stuff in that. So
it is kind of funny.
I was very disappointed the first time I went to New York City and found out that the sewers do not flood with toxic waste every night at midnight. Smells like it would, but it doesn't.
They lied to us.
But we're going to take a quick break and then we'll get back into the insanity that happens in this cabin right after this.
So they make their getaway back into the cabin.
Right.
And that's when we get the blood runes on the door and it creates a force field.
A glowing force field. This is where the movie starts to really get you because this big, we used to call him Bubbas or Jeds. He cuts his arm and just starts drawing like these runes on it, like some kind of a symbol on the door in his blood. And when he's done, the blood glows like a pink, like a bright pink thing. Wow. Yeah. And then Christy can't get through it. She just stands there staring through it because she can't pass it. So he somehow sealed the door.
Yeah.
But prior to this, the most supernatural thing you'd seen is that the Christy character appears to have died, but now she's alive again.
Yeah.
Everything else was at least arguably in the realm of reality.
Yeah.
So to me, that is the moment. That's why I harped on it so much. That's the moment when you go, whoa, what?
Yeah.
It would be like if they burst into like a room with a metal door and one of the people was like, hold on, and use laser eyes to seal the edges. You'd be like, wait, what was that?
Where did that come from?
Yeah, what was that part? Hold on, back up. And meanwhile, they're like, Who let you in here? They're like, hold on, but what about the laser eyes? I want to ask about the laser eyes. Excuse me.
Please, sir.
Henrique Couto, New York Times. What about the laser eyes?
And they're like, so anyway.
Yeah. So that's why it's like hyper memorable to me because I just remember the first time happening going, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like it's so normal when it happens to him. He just does it.
Yeah.
That it almost feels like part of me would be like, did I just like fall asleep for a second?
Am I in a coma?
Imagine that.
Or...
Like, what the hell? Am I having an aneurysm? So,
yeah, and that's what I love about Felicity and her brother and the old guy Francis is this is so normal to them. To an extent, there's clearly something has gone wrong. But they all seem to know, like, oh, well, if this goes wrong, this is how we fix it.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say normal might not quite be what I would call it, but it's certainly expected.
There you go.
I mean, like, it's definitely not new.
Yeah.
I feel like normal they would have been even more nonchalant because they weren't exact. You know what I mean? They were not chalant. They were nonchalant.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, but you're right though. Like they do seem to have an understanding of what's going on, which gives them a degree of calmness.
Yeah.
And that also adds to the ridiculousness because these characters, the family, which, oh gosh, what's the dad's name? It's Francis.
Yeah.
What was the boy's name?
Philip.
You sure? Yeah. Philip. You're right. And then Felicity. I think that's how he said it. It's really silly. They are another B-movie cliche or slasher movie cliche, which is the scary rednecks.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things about that cliche in horror is that it's come very full circle. Early on, when these horror movies were being made, often by young kids fresh out of college, stuff like that, they had this deep fear of rednecks and hillbillies and country folk and rural folk. And a lot of that probably came from Deliverance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they did. So they'd always make them the scary ones. And then as time went on into the 80s and stuff, then it became a trope to have them not be. The trope went from scary hillbillies to the scary hillbilly who's actually really helpful or really nice or whatever. And I always thought that was a hilarious kind of turn that it was like it became so common. People were like, what if they were nice? why not? You know? So we're being presented with these caricaturesque hillbilly characters. I mean, literally Felicity and Philip are filthy.
Yeah.
For no apparent reason. They're just dirty. And Felicity has like her lips barely have any color to them. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be hinting at bad breeding or bad nutrition or what.
Yeah.
But it is like they just look off.
Yeah, not a good sign.
And that makes them intimidating to our two foolish characters.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the point, is that they're being off put by them. But these are not your average scary rednecks from a horror movie, because it becomes very clear as they're trying to ask, like, what the hell's going on, that they know what's going on, but they frustratingly, and this is where the movie, like I keep saying, like, this is where the movie becomes pay dirt. This is where the movie is what I really love about it. They frustrate you so much by not telling you. Like, they're asking straightforward questions like, what I need from you is this and this. And it's like, okay, but what is that? It's like, all in due time if we have the sacrifice we need and the blah, 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 Felicity, grab the blah, blah, blah.
I said, Philip, go get your mama.
Yeah, it's just, and it's almost, sometimes it's almost like they're, which is another like favorite comedy weapon in parody. It's almost like they're reacting to different questions than are being asked, yes. Which is one of my favorite like ways to do satire or farces, is to just have people reacting like you're saying what they are, like they're just reacting like you said something totally different. I think that's always funny. And they're not doing it like super outrageously. That's the other thing, is it's always a little, there's like, they have one foot in like a more sane space and the other foot is just like knee deep in the mud of crazy. So we have this apparently hyper redneck family, and we start to get hints that they were doing a kind of ritual.
Exactly.
Some kind of a resurrection ritual.
Yeah, because they want to bring back Mama.
Well, or at least, they all do, but Dad says that they have, and that's Mama. Is Christy out there? I guess suggesting that maybe because the ritual wasn't completed, she's this revenant that just wants to kill everybody. I mean, but we're really postulating here because they
don't give you a thing.
Well, the thing is, they give you stuff that just makes you go, because the ending when the ending happens, and we'll get there, when the ending happens, you just go, what?
Yeah.
And it really makes you go, okay, okie dokie. So, and we're heading straight toward there because
careening at a rapid pace.
Yeah, because apparently the next step in the ritual might be a bit less, what's that word? A little less benign.
Yeah.
Than some people were hoping. We'll talk all about that right after this.
Things are escalating, and the family is pretty adamant that they need samples. And they say it's all right. They already got a sample from James, and that's when we realize, that's
they're
what that
who attacked him initially took that blood from his arm.
So there's our answer. So they go to take a sample of Ashley's blood, and that's when James kind of notices this may be kind of sinister, because he sees what could be like a dead body in another adjoining room, and like candles set up everywhere. And Francis, the dad, raises a gun to James's head and says, all right, this is how we finish this. And Felicity, she's been helpful, but she's also been asking, like, do we really have to do this? Or at least do it this way.
Or like, we weren't told, you told me it wasn't going to be like this.
Yeah, you told me it wasn't going to be like this. And it wasn't supposed to be this way. And so when Francis is going to kill James, Felicity says, that person out there is not my mom. And she she's the one who, does she take another gun? No, Phillips grabs a gun.
Yeah, it's Philip.
Philip grabs a gun and he shoots his dad because dad had told him, go get mama. And Philip snuck off, got a gun, came back.
Oh, Philip had a gun.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
It turned on dad.
Yeah, dad had a gun and Philip had a gun.
Yeah.
And Philip had, up until this point, been just kind of doing whatever his dad said, grabbing people, cutting himself, all this stuff. And where you really start to realize the movie's bonkers is now they've killed the dad. And after he's been shot, Philip just walks up and blows his head off, like shoots him again and just like his head's gone. Super gory. And now they're like, all right, we gotta do something to get this thing to stop coming after us. And they're like, and she's just like, you got to do what I say. Cause like, I'm trying to save all of our lives. And this really is where the movie peaks, but it holds the peak a while.
It does.
It just keeps getting weirder. And I mean, like, stop me if at this juncture, we're not really going to be able to run down.
So much happens.
Well, it happens, and it happens in a way that it's hard to remember the order because it's so bizarre and it leads into the next thing. But basically, they're like, we got to do this ritual, and we understand it might be some kind of a resurrection ritual.
Yeah.
So she tells Philip to go freshen up the pentagram. So he goes to the other room and cuts his arm open, which he'd already cut his other arm open.
Yeah, so he's now bleeding out of both arms.
Well, the other one, I think he like wrapped it up, but it bled a lot before he did that. So now he's literally going around this blood pentagram on the floor and just filling it in. And he's bleeding a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, he's bleeding a lot.
Yeah.
So he's bleeding and this is when she pulls out the papers.
Felicity pulls out like this big giant like tome and like all these papers and hands it to the other two. She's like, can you read?
And she asks it so sincerely. Can you read? And they're like, yeah. It's like, good. Start reading.
That's going to help.
Good. Yeah. Start reading. But then as she's looking through, like, what are we looking for? And she doesn't answer them until they say, what are we looking for? I don't even know. She just looks at oh gosh, I can't remember. Ashley, and goes, ah, and her eyes glow.
Yeah, it, like gets all demonic.
It's crazy, but they
never reference it. No one like says like why she could do that.
Yeah, but I will say, if you want to give the benefit of the doubt, it could be a way of saying like of the fastest way of letting her know this is beyond like regular comprehension. Like, yeah, you see how you couldn't comprehend that? Well, you're not going to comprehend this. Or my other theory was that doing that made her able to read the pages because she shortly after that, she goes, I found something.
No, you're right. That's interesting.
Maybe she shared sight with her so she could read the whatever,
demonic pages
Kandarian or whatever the hell.
Yeah, there you go. But of course, Philip is now sitting in the corner.
I think I need a Band-Aid.
And they just throw him duct tape.
Yeah.
Which is great because, like, I mean, yeah, kinda.
Yeah, I need to show you Decapitated. That's a horror comedy where duct tape is like the only thing keeping one of the characters alive. That movie's so funny. I should buy the Blu-ray, but it's expensive and I probably would only watch it once. Anyway.
So they just toss Philip duct tape and he's like trying to bandage up his arm, but he does not do very well. And that's when Felicity asks the question we all have been wondering. And I know you've been wondering.
When do we eat?
That too. Are either of these two virgins?
Oh, yeah. I definitely was wondering that.
And it turns out while what's her face, the other friend had said that Ashley was a virgin. No, she's not.
Well, no, Ashley.
Ashley had said her other friend was a virgin.
Yeah. But no, she's not a virgin. So, and then we hear it's 3 and 3. She mentions this a couple of times. 3 and 3, 3 and 3. And she
stops and starts sniffing.
And she drops to the floor and starts smelling Ashley's crotch. And then goes, I forget what she says exactly. It's something about, she says like, she'll help or something.
She'll do.
So, so what we basically start to figure out And in all this, then she realizes that Philip's dead.
Yeah.
And she's like, God damn it. We figure out that what they need in the chalice is the blood of 3 virgins and 3 non-virgins.
Mm-hmm.
So she, and this is why the movie's so great. She's like, I guess I'll have to improvise, but I have an idea. So she cuts Philip's throat. He's dead already.
Yeah.
Cuts his throat to fill the chalice with some of his blood. Cuts herself to fill some of her blood in there. Then has Ashley put some of her blood in. Get some blood.
Use tampon blood.
Yeah, the tampon blood came as well.
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Yeah. So now we've established that her menstrual blood is like separate from her.
Okay.
I mean, that
it makes as much sense as anything else in the movie.
So that counts as virgin's blood.
Yeah.
So they do this. So, but the part that like makes it go way over the top. You know what? I'm gonna wait. We'll talk about this when we get back because they realize that they're actually not short a virgin. They're short a non-virgin, and we'll get to that right after this.
All right, so 3 and 3.
Yes,
and we've
3 and 3.
established that for some reason Ashley's menstrual blood counts as virgin blood.
Right.
And so we've got Philip and Felicity's blood being virgins. We've got James's and Ashley's blood. That means they need one more non-virgin.
And I got to give it to Felicity when she says, like, you know, I think I can make this work. We just got to improvise. So she gets on top of James.
Yeah, she tells James, drop her pants.
Yeah, which she had just said to, I can never remember all these
Ashley.
names. Ashley. She had just said to her when she had to do her whole tampon thing, which they really drew that out to make sure the audience was bothered, which I loved. So she hops on top of James and just humps at him, and it like 6 seconds, boom, it's over. And it's just funny because he's still confused after that. And she just says, I just didn't imagine my first time being like that. And he's like, what? So then she cuts.
Yeah, Ashley's like, wow, 6 seconds.
Nice. Then she cuts herself again and bleeds into the chalice. So now I guess she has her virgin blood and her own non-virgin blood. That's why this movie is memorable, guys.
Yeah.
It's been 10 years since it came out and we're still talking about it. There's a reason. Because
Yeah.
it's got a lot to really enjoy.
It hasn't even gotten to the wildest part.
I mean, it's up there.
It's
Up there already. But so now they've got this chalice of just heinous blood. And they're supposed to drink from it.
Yeah. That's like to complete the banishing.
And here's a good example of them jumping into tropes in a fun way. Blood drinking is a very common trope in rituals and horror movies. Another trope I hate, by the way, about bloodletting is people always cut the palm of their hand. Why would you cut the palm of your hand? That'll hurt for months.
Yeah.
Like, the bandage will come off because you're using your hand.
Yeah, you're doing stuff.
I would cut like the back of my arm.
Yeah,
because
right there.
then you just slap a Band-Aid on it, dunzo. You barely ever move that skin. But people cut that, I never understood that. Like, why would you do that? Anyway. But yeah, so they have to drink the blood. Very common cliche. But they decide to not turn away from the fact that this is really disgusting.
Yeah.
It would be disgusting if the blood wasn't chunky style, but it is.
Yeah, with pulp.
Yes. Pulpo. But much like your blood was before you got your water bottle to make you drink enough water.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about how
dehydrated
it was.
Dehydration, Rachel?
Dehydration.
Yeah, there we go. But so like Felicity drinks some and she just kind of powers through it, whatever, because she's fucking weird as shit already. We've established that.
Yeah.
But then she gives it to Ashley, and Ashley, they really depict how much of a struggle it is for her to swallow.
Yeah, because she's just like plugging her nose and like all like.
Well, and Felicity, I don't think that it's necessary. She's like pouring giant amounts into their mouths too. I don't know if that's actually necessary. But
here, drown in it.
Yeah, but apparently it might be. So so we get to watch her like gagging and struggling, but she is really trying to swallow this.
Yeah.
Because clearly something crazy is going on. Oh, and I think that we forgot they put the runes on their stomachs.
She puts runes on their stomachs.
Yeah,
and
like little symbols on their stomach. And it glows. It makes their stomachs like move, and it freaks them out a little bit. So, like I said, a lot happens. But then when they get to James, he's like, cannot do it.
He's like, I can't.
He just can't do it. And the worst part is she's like forcing him to like, she like makes it grosser too. It's just,
like Ashley has to hold his head open.
Yeah, they're like holding his nose and stuff. So eventually, and this is where the wheels don't leave the car, they leave the state. He ends up puking back up the blood. And the way they depict it is hilarious because like, oh no. You know, like he throws it up. He pukes it back up, which would cancel out the ritual they'd done. But not only does it cancel out the ritual, it splashes Ashley in the face and burns her face off.
Yeah, like acid.
Yeah, which, why did it do that?
Magic?
I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. And now Felicity is super pissed.
Yeah.
Because that killed the ritual they were going to do. So now it just kind of becomes every man for themselves. And do you want to talk about like, cause we're barreling toward the conclusion, which is the best friggin' part of this movie.
Yeah.
Really.
So, they run off, they scatter. It's just Felicity and James. Felicity runs towards the lake and she's trying to get a boat off the moor. And James like finally comes up and he comes up to her and he's just standing around while she's trying to get the boat like undone.
Oh, that's one of my favorite parts. She keeps trying to lift the boat up and he's just standing there. He never wants, but she never asks him to help either.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
It's great because you're right. She could have asked, but also like you'd feel like if you want to get away, you'd help.
I think she didn't ask because they knew the audience was sitting there going like, why isn't he helping? Like help. So like by not even having her ask, it like keeps the audience going, what the hell?
Yeah, like, come on, damn it, man. Yeah. Well, so she sees that shard of glass that was there at the beginning. So she grabs it, she stabs him in the shoulder and then punches him in the gut and says, "This is for Ashley." Yeah. And in the distance, we can hear an ambulance because they did call 911 earlier.
Right before they got in the cabin, because they even made a joke. They said they'll be 25 minutes. They're like, so an hour?
Yeah.
She's like, at least.
At least. So she can hear the sirens in the distance. There's a slim bit of hope that maybe she can get it out. She runs and gets away in the boat. And James flees to the woods, but as he's out in the woods, there's a nice reunion with his friend, Pete.
Oh, yeah. He finds old Pete.
finds old Pete. And Felicity sneaks up on him, and she grabs the spyglass from Pete, and knocks James to the ground, and shoves it in his mouth and, like, curb stomps it through his throat. So, like I said at the beginning, everything, like almost everything has some sort of payoff.
Well, yeah, and the Christie character is now just like really, I mean, we got a hint of her bizarre strength when she slammed the sleeping bag into the tree.
Yeah.
But she's just, I mean, she can just
she
French things right through you.
Bending metal.
It's getting really, it's like shocking how like strong she is. She has like this impossible demonic strength that makes her very formidable, but all the while she is just a naked woman covered in blood.
Yeah,
like that's literally the creature the whole time, which is just a brilliant audacity. And I guess that's kind of when I was talking about cliches that they're commenting on. I kind of felt like that was an extra comment because in 2016, this is a very controversial opinion I have. In 2016, the nudity in horror movies kind of concept was dying.
Yeah.
And I would know I was making horror movies in that time period. And at one point I did one without nudity and the movie did great. And It slowly became a little bit more of a hindrance than a help sometimes.
Yeah.
Because of streaming and da-da-da-da. So part of me thought, as somebody who once did a movie with a topless ghost that was actually evil in Haunted House in Sorority Row, I thought that having the monster be just a naked woman was kind of a middle finger to that. Well, not a middle finger, but kind of a laughing at that cliche by going, well, then the killer will just be a naked woman.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my take.
No, I have to agree because in horror movies, like you said, it is a cliche to just have like gratuitous nudity, and monsters and killers. But this one says, okay, so what if they were the same thing?
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun. It's a fun concept to play with.
I mean, if you like fun, I guess it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a break because a showdown is about to begin as we head into the big finale of the film right after this.
So we're down to just Felicity
and
Christy. Sirens are approaching in the distance. Felicity's kind of like trying to make her way to
the road.
The road. And she's still got that shard of glass. She finally makes it to one of the ambulances, but as she gets there, she realizes, oh no, Christy got there first.
Yeah, when she gets close to the ambulance, it's just covered in blood. Not a little bit, like it's completely, the windshield is nothing but blood.
Yeah.
Which I also felt was kind of a joke about, the lack of subtlety.
Yeah. So there's a showdown between, like a nice cat fight between these two. And like Felicity's holding her own. She does like manage to slash and stab at Christy.
I totally forgot when she first runs off, Felicity first runs off, she does draw a different rune on her stomach than the one she had in there, which I'm guessing has something to do with the WTF that we're getting to.
We're going to, yeah.
I just want to mention that because like she drew the one that I think was what was on the guy's stomach initially or something. I can't remember now, but I remember it wasn't the one that was originally on her stomach.
She drew a new one.
Yeah.
So she drew a new one. They get into a fight and
fighting.
Felicity stabs Christy. And it seems like she may get the upper hand, but then Christy just like beats her in the head mercilessly.
It's the final example of that Christy has like unlimited strength.
Yeah.
That this is just beyond it. And at this point, Felicity has kind of become the character. Well, she's the only one alive, but she's kind of become the character. And it doesn't last very long.
No, because... well, Christy, with her supernatural strength, manages to knock Felicity down, grabs her by her head and lifts her up, and rips her head in half.
I don't think she lifts her up. I think you're confusing it with earlier when he lifted that guy up.
No, I am.
She gets on top of her while she's on the ground. But no, she rips her head straight in half. No. I'm not trying to cheapen it. She like pulls on either side and just there's half a head in each hand.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And it does work very well as like a punctuation of this horrific, violent thing that's going on.
Yeah.
But Lord, where this is going. So yeah, please.
But Felicity, okay, she's dead. She's dead on the ground and Christy's lumbering off. But that rune that Felicity had just put on her stomach, it glows and it lights up.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we see Christy like wandering and lumbering into a neighbor's yard.
And it was actually a house we had seen. The first house we saw at the beginning when the guys were delivering mail.
Yeah.
They went by that house first when they were looking for the Christy house. So that was just a cool, like,
everything comes full circle and it has a payoff.
And she starts slowly lumbering toward them like she's going to, continue this massacre.
Yeah.
And then I'll let you start because this, I'm not kidding, guys. When we saw this in the theater, I thought like, yeah, this is all right. Oh, that's kind of dumb. Oh, this is all right. That's kind of dumb. And then when that ending happened, I was like, okay, holy crap. I kind of loved that because that was so nuts. But it fits. It fits. None of it's lazy. That's the part that is so great. They're establishing a reality that is truly bonkers or cuckoo bananas, depending on what part of the country you're from.
Knuckin' futz.
Calm down. All right. Hold on, wait. I didn't have my bleep ready to stop you from ruining the show, even though I swore at the start.
There we go. Anyway,
I'm not gonna. But no. So, but they establish this crazy world with these crazy rules, and they do follow it to some extent. They just don't reveal everything all at once.
Yes.
So when things feel random, they kind of aren't.
Yeah.
That's just my take on it. But so
she's lumbering, covered in blood, and there is kind of a little sense of dread because we understand what she's capable of now.
We assume this is just this is never
set
gonna
up
end
for
thing
this is how it goes.
Yeah, the downbeat ending.
Yeah, but she kind of like moans and clutches her stomach and hunches over and then falls to the ground, lays on her back. And then a hand reaches out of her vagina.
Well, it's built up. She seems to be going into labor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like pop. It's build. There's build in it. But yeah. But I mean, so what I'm saying, guys, is not that Rachael is wrong about the hand coming out of this woman's vagina. What I'm saying is she falls on the ground and starts like going into labor. And then a hand, and I don't mean a baby's hand. That's why Rachael said that, like, a hand. It's because it's a grown-up hand.
Like a grown-ass adult hand.
Yes. Well, not an ass, but yes.
A hand comes out all bloody. Christy's labored in pain. And then a human head starts coming out. And it's a woman.
Yeah.
And she's, like, screaming.
And naked,
being born,
and
herself.
And now she's literally ripping out of Christy's body entirely at this point. She's clearly killing Christy. Yeah.
Kills Christy as she's coming out, and then it just cuts to credits.
The thing that made this stick wasn't just that happens. It's that when she finally like gets out and kind of falls over on Christy's dead body, you realize it's Felicity.
Yeah.
Like, and she's literally like, it's Felicity. So she literally goes like, ah. And when she makes that last sound, you hear her like southerny, like, ah.
Yeah.
And then it cuts. And then Tonight She Comes up on the screen in a cursive font, and they play like a love song, which I love that they did that. That's such a great touch. But yes, that is the moment that I went, holy crap, this is so brilliant. So she had apparently, we can only assume, had used the half-committed curse to make herself be reborn out of Christy. That would be my guess.
And it totally makes sense because like...
Oh, does it?
Well, as much as the rest of it made sense. I mean... But no, because when they're all stuck together with the family in the ritual scene, it does feel like you get enough pieces of the logic and the rules of the magic that when this grand finale happens, you're just like, okay, yeah, of course. This is why would I assume it would play out any other way?
Well, and again, it's like nothing is cheap about it. Something bursting out of her and then it being Felicity is also kind of nice because by the time she dies, you kind of are rooting for her finally, and rooting for anybody finally. So it's kind of cool that she's back, but it also just makes you go like, wow, I really still don't have a clue how this whole world works that they've built. Whoa.
Yeah.
So I loved it. It made me happy because it wasn't like, there have been a lot of movies, I don't want to name them because I don't want to be negative, but like a couple of more recent, like A24-ish movies where they did some big twist at the end that like just came from nothing. Like I was like, okay. I mean, yeah, it's a twist, but like I didn't really feel like it was that earned.
Yeah.
Like I was just kind of like, oh yeah, that is unexpected. The end. And that's the worst thing you can do. Is have a big mystery and then be so worried about it being a surprise that it's not satisfying. It's just the least expected.
Yeah.
Is the only goal you have there. With this, when that happened, I was like, no, that adds up to everything I've seen in the movie.
Exactly.
All of the psychotic, like satanic stuff all the rebirth conversation, all the references to virgins and non-virgins and rebirth and blood and the whole like drawing on your womb and stuff, like that's all in there. I bet if we really sat and tried to pull it apart, we could probably figure out more.
I'm sure we could.
Because I was curious, like she changed her stomach to, I think, the drawing that she had on it from the guy.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if maybe if like she hadn't told them, which honestly would have been perfect if she hadn't told him like, oh, well, what's going to happen is like, once this ritual starts, you're going to die, but then she'll give birth to you and that'll kill her. And then that wouldn't even surprise me. That would be like, he'd be like, what? And she'd be like, just don't worry about it. Just, you're going to die. And then she'll give birth to you. He'd be like, well, I'm going to be a baby. And she's like, just do what I tell you. Yeah. Like that would work though. Yeah. That would make sense.
Yeah.
In the movie, the sense of the movie.
Exactly.
I have a feeling we have a bit more to say about this. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to peel back some more layers of Tonight She Comes right after this.
So you'd mentioned that toward the end, especially when we get to like the final act, we really start rooting for Felicity. To
some extent, because when you had said earlier, I feel like you said something about her earlier that I wanted to comment on. You said something like she's the only reasonable.
She's like the most competent.
Competent, that's the word. And yes, but she's also crazier than hell.
Oh my God, yeah.
And in part because she's literally like a weird caricature of like a redneck, and in part because she understands all this crazy shit that's crazy.
Yeah, well, what's the old quote, like in an insane world, only the sane are insane or something like that?
Something like that sounds right. Yeah.
So yeah, like she's the most well-adjusted person in an absolutely batshit world, which means she is herself by extension batshit.
Oh, I mean, she's maybe beyond batshit, but yeah. No, I'm with you. But yeah, so you do start to kind of cheer for her because everything she says seems to work. Like it doesn't appear she's a crank.
No.
You know, and like that moment when her eyes glowed all crazy and stuff kind of makes you go, okay, so like this magic is a real thing and she clearly knows something about it.
Yeah.
You know.
And she's clearly got like a sense of morals because she's the one who was like standing up for James and Ashley.
Yeah.
She's also the one who got upset on Ashley's behalf that James kind of like accidentally led to her death.
Yeah.
So she's a very interesting character that way.
For sure.
But it did make me wonder this second watch, is there a traditional protagonist in this movie?
Oh, no. Not at all. I actually think that that's part of their cliche game.
Yeah.
Is they keep handing you obvious protagonists that don't be the protagonist.
Yes.
Because initially, like, you meet the girls, so then you think like maybe the blonde girl will be the protagonist. Because if we want to go really deep into horror tropes, if there's a white girl and a black girl, traditionally in horror tropes, the black girl's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the two girls. But then we meet the buddies, and we have one guy who seems somewhat serious, although he gets weirder as time goes on, and one guy who is clearly comic relief. I mean, he's just everything he does is smoke weed and tap people in the balls and take shits and like
when I masturbate.
Yeah,
that's all he does.
So he's the comic relief. So you're getting handed these archetypes that seem pretty obvious, and then they kind of run with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, in a way, once we get Felicity, she does become like the main character kind of, but she also shows up pretty late to be the main character. And she does die right at about the end. So, I mean, I would say that, you know, she's the closest thing to a protagonist you've got. So, any port in a storm, I guess.
And then that also begs the question, like, is there an actual antagonist? Because the Christie monster in and of itself, it's not necessarily a villain because you get the sense that it's just It's kind of like a construct or a golem. It's just doing what it was made to do.
But that doesn't make it not the villain.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Well, not the villain. Sorry. That doesn't make it not the antagonist.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because if you want to go with like that, Francis was the villain. I would agree, but he can't be the antagonist because he dies like before the halfway mark and nothing stops. So that's kind of my point. Like you can have a villain, but he may not be the pure antagonist. Because even he was working to stop the antagonist.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
But that's the thing. Protagonists and antagonists can be very neutral.
Yes.
That's something that's really important to keep in mind because they're not heroes and villains. That's a totally different thing. Because an antagonist could be the police trying to arrest the serial killer if the serial killer is the character that the audience is supposed to be identifying with.
Exactly.
So, and that's something that but it's easy to confuse them because generally those archetypes fit very, very neatly together. So, but Christy is clearly the antagonist. I mean, she just has to be. But the biggest way to know who or what the antagonist is usually how soon after they die or are defeated or what have you does the film end. Because generally, once an antagonist is gone, there's no movie left because there's nothing to drive the story. It's not always the case. I mean, sometimes you have a resolution that but oftentimes, especially in horror movies, when there's a resolution sequence, it ends with a tease that the antagonist is not gone.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, I think that's the main reason I could be extra confident is because the movie basically ends the moment we know Christy's dead.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. And I hadn't thought about when the movie ending was a good, indicator.
Well, you were too busy thinking about how crazy the ending was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to actually think to go, oh yeah, Christy dies. Because you're too busy thinking about how crazy it is that friggin' Felicity crawls out of her.
Right.
And I think that's fair. That's why this movie works and why we enjoyed this movie so much is because it's so bonkers. And I really can't say enough. If you guys haven't watched it and you've listened to us talk about it this whole way, you can still watch it on Fandango at home with ads and get plenty out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we can't even do some of the craziness justice.
Can't do it justice.
But also, I think it's extra funny that the movie has a totally cut and dry, most obvious antagonist ever, and then a completely murky concept of protagonist.
Yeah.
I actually think that's kind of funny.
Yeah, it is funny. And that's why this movie is not lazy at all. Yeah. It was very well written. It was very well acted. All of the effects were really well done.
They were pretty solid.
And it does, as much as you are sitting there going, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? It's still obviously makes you think. We're sitting here talking about it. And it's one of those movies that I've thought about consistently for the past 10 years. It really leaves an impression.
It is definitely a hoot. So... Well, with that all being said, before we get out of here, Rach, you want to tell them what we're watching and talking about next time?
We will be watching The Ritual from 2017.
That's right. Available on Netflix with your subscription, so you can check that one out. This is one I remember a modest amount about, but it stuck with you.
It really stuck with me. Yeah, I'm excited to visit again because I was really freaked out by it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. So on that note, my friends, we're going to get out of here, but we do appreciate you all spending a little time with us here at Cutting Deep into Horror as we get ready for the very busy Halloween season that's coming right up. So if you love what we do here and you want to send us an email, comment on the movies, recommend something, you can send us an email at weeklyspooky@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. If you want to support us in a very direct way, we would appreciate you going to weeklyspooky.com/join and signing up for as little as $1 a month. You get 2 bonus shows every month and over 6 years of creepypasta readings and exclusive audiobooks. That's at weeklyspooky.com/join. And a way to help us for free is just give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Help other spookies know they're in the right place. But until next time, my friends, stay safe and don't do any rituals that are resurrecty.
Yeah, please don't.
Yeah. See you next time.